Tonight I want to speak to you about the moments when the world seems to close in on you, when you stand at the edge of despair, and nothing appears to answer your cry. These are not moments to fear, they're invitations to remember who you truly are. You are not the sum of your circumstances, nor the echo of your failures. You are imagination itself, clothed in flesh. And when you know this, when you dare to stand in the face of despair and declare, I am, then the darkness must yield. Tonight, let us walk together out of despair and into the light of your own being. The nature of despair. When despair comes, it does not announce itself as an opportunity. It comes clothed in darkness. It comes as the silence after the last door closes, as the weight that presses on your chest in the still hours of the night. You look upon your world and it appears barren, stripped of promise. Every effort seems to collapse. And you say within yourself, I have failed. But I tell you tonight, what you call failure is not failure at all. It is the crumbling of false gods. It is the disintegration of the structures you built upon appearances. Despair is not the enemy. It is the signal that you have exhausted the outer world. It is the voice that says, turn inward now, for there is nothing left without. This is why despair can become holy. For when the senses fail you, you are freed from their tyranny. You are no longer captivated by their testimony. You can no longer cling to the shifting sands of circumstance. And in that very moment you are standing at the threshold of your true power. The world has said you are nothing. And if you believe it, you descend into the grave of self-pity. But if you deny it, if you refuse to bow to the verdict of appearances, you rise into the realization that I am as God, and that this God abides within you as your own wonderful human imagination. Let me make this clear. Despair is not the end of the road. It is the signpost that marks the border between the life of reaction and the life of creation. Most men live in reaction. They look at the world, interpret it as fixed reality, and then attempt to adjust themselves to its verdict. When the world says you are small, they feel small. When it says you are beaten, they surrender. They live as echoes, not as voices. But you are not called to echo the world. You are called to speak it into being. Despair simply shows you that the old way of echoing no longer satisfies. It is the invitation to stop being the shadow and become the light. If despair has come to you, rejoice. Not in the furor it brings, but in the opportunity it conceals. For despair is only the death of the false self. It is the crumbling mask. It is the house of cards collapsing because it was never founded upon the rock of your own I am. When it falls, do not mourn it. Let it fall. For only when the false has fallen can the true arise. And the true you is not the one who is broken, not the one who is defeated, not the one who lies weeping in the ashes. The true you is the one who imagines himself out of the ashes. The true you is the dreamer, who dreams again when the world has stopped dreaming with him. I remember when despair visited me. It came quietly as it always does. Nothing seemed to move. Nothing answered. Nothing opened. And then I realized I was still waiting for the outer world to move first. I was still granting it power over me. That is the root of despair. To believe the outer is greater than the inner. To believe the shadow shapes the light. But the reverse is true. The outer world is powerless except to echo the inner state. It is imagination that casts the image. It is consciousness that clothes itself as circumstance. Once you see this, despair becomes impossible. For even in the pit you will say, this too is only my shadow. I will change the light within. Understand, nothing in your outer world has meaning of its own. It draws its meaning from the state from which you view it. The same event that crushes one man elevates another. The same loss that breaks one heart awakens another to its divine power. What is the difference? Only the state. The state you occupy determines the world you see. So when despair tempts you to accept its verdict, resist not with argument, but with a change of state. Withdraw from the state called despair. Step into the state called hope, called victory, called peace. Do it in imagination. Do it as a child dons a costume, and the world will rearrange itself to match the costume you wear. But you will say, it feels real. This despair feels solid. Of course it does. Every state feels real while you occupy it. That is the nature of consciousness. It gives reality to whatever it touches. When you dwell in despair, it becomes your world. When you dwell in joy, joy becomes your world. The outer world merely reflects the inner dwelling. So do not wait for the outer to change first. That is the great error. Men say when the circumstances change, I will feel different. But the law is reversed. When you feel different, the circumstances must change. The outer follows the inner as the shadow follows the body. The moment you shift within, the shadow begins to reshape itself. Therefore I say to you tonight, despair is not proof of your weakness. It is proof that you are ready to awaken. Only the powerful can feel despair because only the powerful can sense that they are misusing their power. The weak do not despair. They merely submit. But you are not weak. You are imagining wrongly. That is all. And what is imagined wrongly can be imagined rightly. This is your glory. You can begin again. This very night, though the world calls you ruined, you may dare to assume that you are already redeemed. Though all evidence denies it, you may claim, I am whole. I am victorious. I am free. And if you persist, the world will bow to that claim, for it must echo what you dare to assume. So let despair come, if it must. Let it come to reveal the hollowness of the outer world. Let it strip away the idols, the false sources of security. And when it has done its work, thank it and turn inward. Turn to the only power that can never fail you, your own wonderful human imagination. There and there alone is your salvation. There is where the new world is born. There is where you rise, not as the victim of life, but as its creator. And from this moment on, let despair be for you what the night is to the dawn. Not an end, but a beginning. Not a tomb, but a womb. For out of the darkness of despair is born the blazing light of your awakened I am. And once you have seen that light, you can never again believe in darkness. 2. The secret place within. When the world shouts its accusations and despair hammers at your door, there is only one sanctuary, and it is not found in men, nor in circumstance, nor in the fleeting comfort of things. It is found within you. There is a secret place, a hidden chamber that no calamity can touch. Scripture calls it the secret place of the Most High. I call it your own wonderful human imagination. This is not poetry, this is power. It is the only true refuge. And until you know it, you will wander the world seeking shelter where there is none. The senses will tell you there is no hope. The facts will testify that you are finished. The world will parade its evidence of your defeat. But none of this can enter the secret place. None of it can touch the root from which your world grows. The outer is but the shadow, the inner is the substance. If you would change the shadow, you must touch the substance. If you would silence despair, you must retreat into that inner sanctuary where all creation begins. Close your eyes, and you will find the door. The world believes the door is out there through effort, through struggle, through force. But the door is always within, and it opens not to the hand but to the heart. Become still. Withdraw your attention from the clamor of the senses. Lay down the burden of trying to fix the outer. Turn away from the appearance and turn toward the invisible. This is the act of faith. This is the crossing of the threshold. When you enter this secret place, do not enter as a beggar. Do not enter to plead, to bargain, to cry. Enter as the one who already possesses what he seeks. Enter as the child returning home. For this is your Father's house, and all that is his is yours. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, not merely the thought of it, but the feeling. Let it saturate you until it becomes more real than the facts that deny it. This is the key that unlocks the inner chamber. And as you do this, something wonderful happens. The world that only moments ago loomed as your master becomes your servant. Circumstances begin to shift. People begin to speak new words. Paths open where walls once stood, not because you have forced them, but because you have changed the route from which they spring. The outer world must obey the inner pattern. Change the pattern, and you change the world may call this delusion, but I tell you it is the only sanity. For the world you see with your eyes is only the crystallized residue of yesterday's imaginal acts. It is not the cause, it is the effect. The cause is imagination. The cause is the unseen state you dare to occupy. This is the secret that frees you from the tyranny of appearances. No matter what the outer cries, you may enter within and fashion a new reality. And if you persist, it will appear as surely as night yields to dawn. Think of the seed. It is buried in darkness. The eye sees nothing, and yet within that hidden place, the entire tree is contained. The soil does not argue with the seed. It accepts it. The sun does not interrogate the seed. It warms it. And in silence, the seed becomes the tree. So it is with your imaginal act. They are seeds sown in the secret place. The senses see nothing, and so the ignorant man despairs. But the wise man smiles, for he knows that the unseen is the real. He knows the seed is sprouting in the darkness, and soon the world will behold its fruit. This is why you must guard your inner chamber. Do not allow despair to plant its seeds there. Do not rehearse defeat in imagination. For what you rehearse, you will perform. Refuse to dwell on the images of failure. Starve them of your attention, and they will wither. Nourish only the images of your desire fulfilled. Clothe yourself in them. Walk in them inwardly until they feel natural. For what feels natural within becomes inevitable without. Many will say, but how can I pretend when the world is crumbling around me? I tell you, you are not pretending. You are creating. Pretending seeks to escape the world. Creating seeks to remake it. The world crumbles because it has finished its work. It has outpictured the old state you once occupied. Let it crumble. Do not try to mend the ruin. Go within and build anew. And as you dwell in the new state, the world will rise again, not as it was, but as you have imagined it. Understand, the secret place is not a physical location. It is not a distant realm. It is the state of consciousness you choose to occupy. You can enter it while sitting in a crowded street, while lying in your bed, while walking in the midst of chaos. The door is always open, because it is your own mind. The only requirement is that you withdraw your attention from what is, and place it upon what shall be. This is the true prayer. Not words, but assumption. Not begging, but being. And when you come out from that inner chamber, come out as though it were already done. Do not speak of your desire as a hope. Speak of it as a fact. Carry yourself as the one who is received. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is the outer posture that matches the inner claim. And the world, seeing this posture, must bow. It must conform to the image you hold of yourself. I tell you, the only chains that bind you are the chains of forgotten imagination. You have forgotten your power, and so you fear the world. But the world is only your servant, bearing the shape you gave it. Remember who you are. Remember that you are the one who enters the secret place and fashions world. The storm may rage, the earth may quake, but you will stand unmoved, for you have placed your foundation not in the sand of appearances, but in the rock of imagination. So when despair comes, do not fight it, do not curse it, thank it, for it has driven you to the only refuge that is real. It has shown you the emptiness of the outer and the fullness of the inner. It has led you, as all suffering must, back to yourself. And in that self, in that secret place, you will find God, not as a distant deity, but as your own I am. The moment you feel this, despair dissolves. It cannot breathe in the atmosphere of awakened imagination. And from that secret place, you will rise, not patched, not mended, but reborn. The ashes will give way to the flame. The darkness will yield to the light. And the world that once mocked you will marvel, for it will see in you the proof that God is imagination, and imagination creates reality. So tonight I urge you, go within, go boldly, go off, make your home in the secret place of the Most High, and you will laugh at despair, for you will know that nothing can touch you. You will know that you are the master of the unseen, and the unseen rules the seen. And once you know this, you are free. 3. The power of assumption in the midst of darkness. When despair casts its long shadow across your path, your instinct will be to struggle against it, to wrestle with appearances, to cry out for rescue. But rescue does not come from without. It comes from within. And it comes through the act of assumption. This is the key. And if you grasp it, you will never again fear the darkness. You must learn to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, even when every fact screams its denial. Especially then, for the greater the denial, the more radiant the victory when it appears. Assumption is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the hand that reaches into the unseen and draws forth the seen. When you assume, you are not daydreaming. You are planting the seed of reality. The world will tell you to be reasonable. It will tell you to face facts. But facts are only the shadows of former beliefs. They are not masters. They are servants. They have no power except what you give them. The man who waits for facts to change before he assumes has reversed the law. The law is simple. Assume first and facts must follow. Refuse to assume and facts will remain your jailers. In moments of despair, this is the great temptation to accept the verdict of the senses as final. You see emptiness and you call it truth. You see failure and you call it reality. But reality is not what you see, it is what you are. And what you are is determined by what you dare to assume. If you assume poverty, you clothe yourself in it and the world echoes it. If you assume wealth, though your pockets be empty, the world must find ways to fill them. This is not theory, it is law. I have stood where you stand. I have known the taste of ashes, the silence of unanswered prayer, the heaviness of despair. And I learned nothing changes until you change your assumption. You may weep, you may strive, you may toil. But if inwardly you still see yourself as broken, no effort will mend you. The outer is compelled to mirror the inner. This is why the man who dares to change his inner claim stands unmoved while the world shakes. For he knows the shaking is only the old state crumbling. He holds fast to his new assumption until the dust clears and the world has reshaped itself to match it. So I say, when despair comes, withdraw your attention from what is, close your eyes and step into what shall be. Choose your desire and then assume its fulfillment. Feel it real. Let it saturate you. Walk in it inwardly until it feels like home. Do not ask how it will come. That is not your concern. The bridge of incident will appear of its own accord. Your only task is to remain faithful to the state assumed. Faith is not blind hope. It is loyalty to the unseen. It is the refusal to abandon your assumption no matter what the outer world proclaims. The outer will test you. It will present every contradiction. It will echo the old state until the new one is firmly rooted. But if you remain loyal to your inner vision, the outer must yield. It has no choice. It is powerless except to reflect the inner. Imagine a sculptor does not chisel the stone according to what the stone is. He chisels according to the image in his mind. The stone may resist, but the image governs his hand. So it must be with you. The outer conditions may resist, but your assumption must govern your reaction. Hold your image steady and the outer must conform. Change your image and the outer must crumble. This is the power that frees you from despair. Despair whispers that you are trapped, that nothing can change. Assumption declares that everything must change, for everything is only the shadow of what you assume. This is why I tell you, dare to assume the noblest. Dare to assume what contradicts the senses. Dare to assume what the world calls impossible. For what the world calls impossible is only what it has not yet seen. And you are not here to echo what has been seen, you are here to reveal what has not. Do not measure your assumption by the evidence of the moment. That is the mistake of the impatient. They assume for an hour, and when the outer remains unchanged, they abandon it. But assumption is like the seed, it takes time to gestate. The sprout does not appear the moment you bury the seed, but the life is there. Invisible, silent, yet certain. So it is with your imaginal. The moment you assume, the new state is born. It will grow in the darkness until the world can no longer deny it. And when despair presses in, when nothing seems to move, rejoice. For that stillness means the old state has exhausted itself. It is the void before the dawn. It is the silence that precedes the song. Do not flee it. Stand in it and declare, I am what I desire to be. Say it not as a wish, but as a fact. Say it until your very bones believe it. And though the world resist, it will break before that declaration. Understand, this assumption is not pretending to be what you are not. It is the recognition that you already are. It is claiming the reality of your inner being and letting the outer catch up. You are not becoming. You are revealing. The wealth, the health, the joy you seek already exist as states of consciousness. When you assume them, you do not create them. You select them, and once selected, they must clothe themselves in form. So when despair says, it is over, let your soul answer, it has just begun. When it says, you have nothing, answer, I possess all. When it says you are alone, answer, I am one with the source of all that is. These are not empty affirmations. They are acts of assumption, and each act reshapes the unseen pattern from which your world flows. Persist, and the day will come when you will look upon your life and see only the reflection of your noble assumptions. The ruins will have vanished, the ashes blown away, and in their place will stand the proof that God, your own imagination, never failed you. And you will know then beyond doubt that despair was only the shadow cast by your own forgotten power. So tonight, if despair surrounds you, do not resist it. Use it. Let it drive you inward. Let it strip from you every false reliance until you stand naked before your own, and then clothe yourself in the garment of your desire. Wear it inwardly until it becomes your skin, and the world will see only what you wear. This is the law. This is the way out. Assume, and it will be given. Refuse, and the prison remains. The choice is yours. 4. The inner act of acceptance. My friends, let us now go deeper. We have spoken of imagination as the creative force and of faith as the unseen substance from which all things are shaped. But there is a subtle, sacred act that bridges the chasm between what is longed for and what is lived. It is the act of acceptance. Until you accept within yourself the reality of that which you desire, it cannot clothe itself in flesh. And in your darkest hour, when despair presses upon you like a stone, it is this inner acceptance that lifts you from the pit and sets your feet upon firm ground. Acceptance is not begging. It is not pleading with some distant deity to give you relief. Acceptance is the quiet inward assumption that what you have longed for is already yours. It is the surrender of doubt, the dismissal of delay, and the silent consent of your soul to the reality of your fulfilled desire. In the midst of despair, your senses will scream the opposite. They will tell you you are broken, abandoned, powerless. But if you will dare in the teeth of appearances to accept the invisible truth of your wish fulfilled, then you will awaken the law that cannot fail. You see, you do not receive what you want. You receive what you accept as true. Your world is forever mirroring your inner state, not your outer words. You may cry out for help, yet if within you the belief of defeat is enthroned, the world must echo that belief. But if in your secret chamber you accept, quietly and steadfastly, it is done, then the world will bow to that inner decree. This is the divine alchemy. This is how despair is transmuted into glory. Consider this. You are not trying to make something happen. You are consenting to its having happened. There is an immense difference. Trying affirms its absence. Acceptance affirms its presence. In despair, the mind wants to struggle and strive and wrestle with circumstance. It wants to fix the outer scene. But the law does not answer struggle. The law answers assumption. You must become so inwardly persuaded of the reality of your fulfilled desire that outer evidence becomes irrelevant to you. You stand in the midst of ruin and see only resurrection. You sit among ashes and smell the fragrance of a coming spring. That is the secret power of acceptance. I tell you, this act cannot be forced. It must be entered into like a lover enters a cherished dream. It is quiet. It is gentle. It is inward. When despair howls at your door, you do not fight it with argument. You dissolve it with vision. You close your eyes and you see yourself as you would be if your desire were now realized. You breathe it in as though it were air. You taste it as though it were bread. You feel it as though it were flesh and blood. And then without strain you say within, this is who I am. That is acceptance. And the moment you accept, something stirs in the unseen depths. The seed is planted. The harvest is inevitable. Do not concern yourself with how or when. That is not your roaming. Your task is singular. Accept the end as present. Accept the wish as fulfilled. Accept yourself as the one you long to be. If you can persist in that acceptance, even while despair mocks you, the outer world must reshape itself. It is law. It is unbreakable. The world is a shadow, and the shadow cannot resist the shape cast by your inner light. Many will tell you to work harder, to struggle more, to fight your way out of despair. But I tell you, you are not here to fight shadows. You are here to awaken, and you awaken not by force, but by faith. You awaken by accepting that you already are what you have desired to be. This is the paradox. In despair, you feel least able to believe, yet that is the very moment you must dare to believe. When the night is darkest, the imagination must shine bright. When the storm rages loudest, the inner voice must whisper, it is done. Acceptance is the invisible yes of the soul. It is the letting go of resistance and the embracing of your divine inheritance. You are not petitioning a reluctant universe. You are aligning with the eternal truth that all things are already yours. This is why I say, begin now in the midst of whatever pain or loss surrounds you, to practice this sacred art. Take the desire that seems most impossible, most beyond reach, and dare to accept it as now fulfilled. Walk in that inner scene until it feels natural. Speak from it. Think from it. Rest in it. And though nothing may change at first glance, everything will be changing at the root. The unseen currents will begin to move, and soon what was once only imagined will stand before you as undeniable fact. This is the secret path out of despair, not by might, nor by force, but by inner consent, by acceptance. The moment you accept, you shift timeline. You step from the barren land of longing into the fertile field of fulfillment. Despair cannot follow you there, for despair is born of separation, and acceptance is the union of the soul with its desire. You are the operant power. You are the creative center. Accept your glory and your world will bear witness to it. So tonight, when the shadows lengthen and the mind seeks to drag you down into the pit, close your eyes, turn inward, see what you desire is already done. Feel it, breathe it, wear it, whisper within. Do not argue with appearances. Do not fight the old state. Simply accept the new. And as you persist in this acceptance, despair will dissolve like mist under the rising sun. The light within you will break forth, and you will truly know that nothing was ever against you. It was all waiting for your acceptance. This is the fourth key, my friends. The key of inner acceptance. Use it boldly, gently, faithfully, and you will rise. Living from the end. My friends, tonight we come to a principle that stands as the very heart of this teaching. The art of living from the end. If despair is the darkness that seeks to swallow you, then living from the end is the light that renders it powerless. It is the great reversal, the turning of the soul from what is seen to what is true. And if you will grasp this and live it, not merely admire it, despair will lose its hold forever. Understand this. You are not here to wish. You are here to, and being is not accomplished by looking toward a distant future, but by assuming here and now the consciousness of the fulfilled desire. You are never to reach for the end. You are to come from the end. That is the secret. That is the narrow path. The whole world is trying to get to where they want to be, and so they remain where they are. But the awakened one walks as though he has already arrived, and the world reshapes itself to reflect his inner state. Let us be very clear. Living from the end is not imagining the end as something that will one day come. It is feeling it as something that is already so. It is thinking from the wish fulfilled, not of it. If you are in despair tonight, this will seem impossible. Your senses will rebel. They will insist on the cold facts of lack and failure. But I tell you, facts are shadows. States are the substance. Change the state and the facts must change. The outer world is clay. The inner state is the mold. You need not struggle with the clay. You need only assume the mold of your desire fulfilled, and the clay will conform. How is this done? It is done by the inward act of imagination. You enter the scene of your fulfilled desire. You see it as though through your own eye. You hear the words that would be spoken to you if it were now real. You feel the joy, the relief, the gratitude. You make it so real within that when you open your eyes, you carry the fragrance of that inner world with you. And then you go about your day not trying to get to it, but moving as though it already surrounds you. That is living from the end. And this, my friends, is how miracles are born. You may say, but Neville, how can I live from the end when the evidence all around me shouts the opposite? I say to you, you do it by ignoring the evidence and honoring the truth within you. You do it by choosing imagination over appearance. You do it by fidelity to the unseen. This is the faith that moves mountains. This is the secret that every mystic and seer has whispered through the age. The outer world is not cause, it is effect. The cause is your inner state. To attempt to change the outer while remaining the same within is to fight shadows. But to change the state within is to command the shadow to shift. The world must mirror what you are. Therefore become inwardly what you wish to outwardly behold. In your moments of despair, when the heart feels hollow and the world feels indifferent, this is the doorway out. Withdraw from appearances and sink into the end. Even if only for a moment, let yourself be the one who already has, who already is, who already stands where you long to stand. Feel the weight of fulfillment upon you. Let its joy press against your ribs. Let its peace saturate your breath. And when you return to the world of senses, do not seek signs. Do not watch the clock. Walk as though it were done. Speak from that end. Think from that end. React from that end. And all things will hasten to align themselves with the truth you have dared to assume. This is the law. Consciousness is the only reality. Your outer life is the outpicturing of your inner state. There is no one to change but self. There is nothing to wait for but your own decision. The instant you inwardly accept the end as present, you have shifted state. And each state has its own world, its own conditions, its own facts. The state of despair has its world of closed doors and barren fields. The state of fulfillment has its world of open paths and abundant harvests. Do not try to fix the world of despair. Simply leave it. Step into the state of your fulfilled desire, and the world of despair will vanish behind you like a dream upon waking. Some will say, but Neville, isn't this self-deception? Isn't it delusion to live as though I have what I do not yet see? And I say to them, what you call reality is only a crystallized dream. Every fact you now see was once unseen, held in imagination by someone who dared to believe. You are not deluded to live from the end. You are deluded to think the seen world is final. The unseen creates the seen. The cause is always invisible first. So do not fear to dwell in your unseen end. That unseen end is more real than the present shadow you call despair. I want you to hear this with all your heart. You are not waiting for your desire to come to you. Your desire is waiting for you to come to it. By assumption. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you have entered the state where that desire already exists, as fact. And because all states are eternal, that state must externalize. You are not creating it out of nothing. You are selecting it from the infinite possibilities that already are. That is the mystery of creation. All is finished. Creation is complete. You are simply choosing what portion of it you will experience by living from it now. And so I urge you in the quiet moments when despair creeps near, do not argue with it. Do not plead with it. Simply withdraw inward and see only the end. Let the end be more real than the present. Let it become your dwelling place. And the moment you do, you will feel a deep calm will come. The struggle will cease. And though nothing may appear to have changed, everything will have changed because you have changed. The seed has been planted. The law is in motion. The harvest is certain. This is the way out. This is the key of keys. Live not toward the end. Live from the end. Let the end be your present, and the present will become your past. The world will conform. It must. It cannot resist the command of an assumed state. So dare to assume, dare to feel it real, dare to walk as the one who already has, already is, already knows, and despair will fall away from you like a garment you have outgrown. This, my friends, is the fifth key. Living from the end. Master it, and the darkness will never master you again. 6. The silent persistence of faith. My friends, tonight we venture into the quiet power that sustains all creation. The silent persistence of faith. If despair is the great interrupter, the voice that says it is hopeless, then faith is the unwavering current beneath the noise, the invisible hand that carries you to your destiny. Without faith, imagination falters and acceptance dissolves. But with faith, even the smallest seed of assumption will split the hardest rock and rise as a mighty tree. Faith is the power that keeps you standing when the world declares you fallen. Understand this. Faith is not noise. It is not loud declarations or frantic affirmation. It is the serene certainty that the unseen is more real than the seen. Faith is the refusal to measure truth by appearances. It is the quiet choice to persist in your inner knowing, despite the storm that rages outside. And it is in the moments of despair that this persistence must become your anchor. For despair feeds on the evidence of the senses, but faith feeds on the unseen reality you have dared to assume. Let me tell you what faith truly is. Faith is loyalty to the unseen reality of your fulfilled desire. It is fidelity to the end you have imagined, even when everything contradicts it. It is remaining inwardly unmoved, though the outer world shakes. And hear me well, this persistence is not force. It is not strain. It is not clinging with white-knuckled desperation. No, it is resting. It is calm. It is the still knowing that what you have accepted inwardly must one day be seen outwardly. Faith does not fight. Faith rests in assurance. Consider the farmer who plants his seed. He does not stand over the field every hour demanding proof that something is happening. He trusts the law of growth. He knows the seed must germinate in the unseen before it can break the surface. So he goes about his work with quiet confidence. That is faith. So too must you be with your desires. Once you have imagined the end and accepted it as real, release the outer struggle. Go about your days as though it were already done. For in truth it is. That unseen seed is working even now, though the surface shows nothing. Despair sees nothing and cries, all is lost. Faith sees nothing and whispers, it is done. This silent persistence is the mark of the awakened. The masses live by sight and sound. The awakened live by vision and inner hearing. The masses change their minds 1,000 times when results delay. The awakened hold their inner course like the compass holds north. And because the world must mirror the state you persist in, the world eventually bows to their inner conviction. This is the law. Persistence in a state leads to its externalization. Do not concern yourself with time. Time is the servant of persistence. It must deliver what you have steadfastly believed. I tell you this. Your senses will attempt to seduce you back into doubt. They will parade before you the evidence of failure. They will mock your inner vision. Let them. Do not argue with them. Do not fight. Simply turn inward again and again to the reality you have chosen. That is faith. Not the absence of doubt, but the refusal to give doubt your loyalty. Faith is not an emotion. It is allegiance. It is choosing the unseen truth again and again until it becomes the only truth you know. This is the crucible where many falter. They assume the end for a day or a week, but when the outer world does not immediately conform, they return to the old state. They dig up their seed to see if it is growing, and in so doing they kill. but the one who persists silently without wavering will see the harvest. The world cannot resist persistent faith. It must yield. Every great transformation you have ever witnessed was born of someone who refused to let go inwardly. Though the outer world gave them no encouragement, they were loyal to the unseen, and the unseen became seen. Do not mistake this persistence for striving. Striving is born of fear. Persistence is born of love. Striving says, I must make it happen. Persistence says, it is already so. Striving exhausts. Persistence strengthens. Striving looks to the clock. Persistence forgets time altogether. Faith lives outside of time. Faith knows that what is real inwardly must externalize, and so it waits with calm expectancy. You cannot rush the law any more than you can rush the sun to rise, but you can trust it, and in that trust you will find peace, even in the valley of despair. So I say to you, make your choice of state and remain there inwardly, no matter what the senses scream. If the world calls you foolish, smile. If circumstances collapse, stand firm. Let the world crumble around you if it must, but do not relinquish your inner vision. Remain faithful to the end you have seen. Walk through the ruins as though you were walking through the palace of your desire, and soon the palace will rise where the ruins once stood. This is the mystery of faith. It builds unseen while the world sleeps. There will be moments when you feel nothing, when the old state seems to drag you back with heavy chains. This too is part of the path. In those moments, do not force feeling. Simply return, gently and quietly, to the imaginal act. Re-enter the scene of your fulfilled desire. Let it be as natural and effortless as slipping into a familiar dream. You are not trying to make it happen. You are reminding yourself of what is already true in the unseen. That is persistence. That is the silent art of faith. Understand this well. It is not intensity but constancy that wins. A single flash of belief may plant the seed, but it is persistent faith that waters it until it breaks through the soil. The emotional high may fade, but faith endures. It endures when you feel nothing. It endures when the night is long. It endures when despair whispers, give up. It says no, it is done. That quiet voice, repeated gently through the days, will move mountains. It will turn the course of rivers. It will remake your world. And so tonight, if despair has wrapped itself around you like a cold cloak, I urge you to do this. Close your eyes, withdraw from the evidence of the senses, enter once more the end you desire. Feel it lightly, accept it quietly, and then rise, and go about your life as though it were already. Refuse to check the soil, refuse to measure the sprout, simply live in silent trust. And when doubt returns, return again to the inner vision. This is the way. This is how the unseen becomes seen. Faith is the great sustainer. Faith is the quiet flame that endures the night. Faith is the power that makes despair impossible to hold. For when you know within yourself that it is done, how can despair stand? It must dissolve as darkness dissolves before the dawn. The dawn does not struggle to overcome the night. It simply appears and the night is gone. So too will your fulfilled desire appear, and despair will be no more. This, my friends, is the sixth key. The silent persistence of faith. Hold to it as you would hold to life itself. For indeed it is life. Persist quietly, persist gently, persist faithfully, and the world will bend to your faith as surely as the tide bends to the moon. 7. Living from the end. My friends, tonight I want to take you beyond wishing, beyond hoping, beyond even believing, and bring you into being. For it is not enough to desire a new life, nor is it enough to imagine it in passing. You must begin to live from the end, as though the thing longed for were already accomplished. This is the great secret hidden in plain sight. Your outer world reshapes itself only when your inner world adopts the posture of fulfillment. In despair, you wait for change. In faith, you become the change. And this becoming is the golden key that unlocks the gates of your destiny. Understand me well. Living from the end is not pretending. It is not play acting. It is not saying empty words while inwardly trembling. Living from the end is the quiet inner conviction that what you have imagined is now the truest thing about you. It is shifting your dwelling place from longing to possession. Most live as though their desires are always before them, always out of reach, always someday. But the awakened move their center of being into the fulfilled state and dwell there. They think from it, speak from it, act from it, rest in it. And because the world must mirror the state you occupy, it bends itself to reflect that inner posture. You must see the difference between thinking of your desire and thinking from it. Thinking of your desire keeps it distant. Thinking from it makes it present. The one who thinks of wealth remains poor in feeling though he recites riches with his lips. The one who thinks from wealth feels abundance even in a bare room. And soon that inner wealth draws its outer form. The law does not respond to words, it responds to states. And the state you persist in will harden into fact. Now to live from the end, you must dare to drop the old identity. This is where many stumble. They cling to the familiar misery while dreaming of freedom. They say, one day I will be free. And they speak from the prison cell. But if you would be free, you must be free now, inwardly, secretly, where all reality begins. You must assume the feeling of freedom until it becomes natural. And as you persist, the outer chains will fall away as though they never were. The outer follows the inner as shadow follows form. The moment you shift your inner dwelling place, the outer world begins to rearrange itself to match it. Living from the end requires courage, for it demands you walk as though you possess what the senses deny. It asks you to sit in ashes and feel the weight of the crown. It asks you to stand in the ruins and breathe the air of your palace. The world will call you foolish. Your senses will call you a liar. But if you persist, if you walk by inner sight rather than outer sight, the world will yield. It has no choice. It is law. Appearances are powerless before sustained assumption. Let me make this practical. Suppose you desire to be healed. Living from the end does not mean saying, I will be healed. It means assuming now, in the secret of your being, I am whole. You feel what it would feel like to walk in strength, to breathe in ease, to live in freedom. You let that feeling saturate your being until it becomes your natural state. And though the body may still echo the old state for a time, it must eventually conform to the new assumption. The body is a shadow, consciousness is the substance. Alter the substance, and the shadow must follow. Or perhaps you desire abundance. Living from the end does not mean grasping at money or calculating how it will come. It means assuming the feeling of already having more than enough. You walk through the world with quiet sufficiency. You release the anxious clutching that says, you move with the calm ease of one who has. And as you dwell in that state, the channels will open of their own accord. You do not strain to make them open. They must open because the world mirrors the state you occupy. This is the law. The world is yourself pushed out. It cannot contradict the state you sustain. And so if you wish to leave despair behind, do not battle despair directly. You do not conquer darkness by striking it. You conquer darkness by turning on the light. In the same way, you do not conquer despair by arguing with it. You dissolve it by dwelling in the state opposite to it. If despair says, I am forsaken, you assume I am chosen. If despair says, all is lost, you assume all is fulfilled. And though at first it may feel like imagination, if you persist, it will become your felt reality. And your felt reality is what the outer world must shape itself around. Now I tell you this, living from the end is not done once. It is a continual return. The old state will attempt to pull you back. The senses will tempt you to dwell in lack. When that happens, do not despair. Simply return again to the end. Re-enter the scene of your fulfilled desire. Feel its reality. Speak from it. Move from it. Each return strengthens the new state until it becomes effortless. This is how transformation happens, not by force, but by persistence. The old state fades from disuse, and the new state becomes the only reality you know. And let me make something very clear. You are not waiting for the outer world to change so that you may feel changed. You are feeling changed now so that the outer world may reflect it. The cause is always within. If you wait for evidence, you delay the miracle. If you insist upon feeling it now, the miracle becomes inevitable. This is why I say begin now. Whatever the desire, enter it in imagination, accept it as true, and live from it. Refuse to touch the old state. Refuse to argue with appearance. Simply dwell in the end, and the end will dwell in you. In living from the end, you become as the author who has already written the final page. The story may wander through twists and turns, but the conclusion is fixed. And because you know the end, you can walk through the seeming chaos with calm. The world may shout defeat, but you smile, for you know the victory is already written. That calm is power. That quiet assurance bends the seeming accidents of life to fulfill your inner decree. What the world calls coincidence is simply the outer scene rearranging itself to honor your chosen end. So tonight, if despair has wrapped itself around your heart, I urge you, drop the struggle, drop the waiting, and dare to live from the end. Choose your highest desire, the one that feels most impossible, and enter it in imagination as though it were already done. Feel it, breathe it, wear it, then rise, and walk through your world as that one. Speak as that one, think as that one. Do not ask when or how, simply be. And as you persist, Your outer world will be compelled to reflect the inner reality you have chosen. This is the seventh key, my friends, the key of living from the end. It is the royal path, the straight way out of despair. For when you live from the end, despair cannot touch you. You are no longer waiting for salvation. You are living as one who is already saved. And the world must follow. It must. For the world is your shadow, and the shadow obeys the form that casts it. Live from the end, and watch the end appear. 8. The silent inner revolution. My friends, if you would only dare to become inwardly still, you would discover the revolution of all revolutions happening within your own soul. I speak not of a rebellion against men or systems or institutions. I speak of the only revolution that has ever truly changed the world, the inner transformation of imagination. In the moments of despair, when the outer world mocks you with evidence of failure, it is then that you must turn wholly inward and anchor yourself in the unseen reality. For the outer world is nothing more than the crystallization of what you have entertained inwardly. And if you persist in new inner conversations, the outer world must bow. Be still. That is the beginning of this revolution. When you are still, you can hear the whisper of your own imagination, and that whisper is the voice of God. You see, the tragedy of man is not that he is weak, but that he is forgetful. He forgets that the power that created the universe speaks through his own imagination. He forgets that his own inner speech plants seeds in the garden of time. And so he wanders, lost in appearances, thinking the world is doing something to him, when in truth the world is only doing what he has decreed in secret. Tonight I want you to understand this. Despair is not your enemy. Despair is the signal that you have placed your faith in appearances. Despair arises only when you have forgotten your inner cause and placed your trust in outer effects. The moment you return to the inner cause, despair dissolves. It cannot stand in the presence of the awakened imagination. Like darkness before the dawn, it vanishes when light appears. And the light is simply this: I am the cause. I and my Father are one. Your Father is your imagination. The two are one. That is the great mystery hidden from the ages, yet revealed in the simplicity of your own being. So I say to you, when the storm rages, do not run to men for comfort. Do not seek signs from the world. Close your door. Enter your inner chamber and shut the door. There, in the silence of your own mind, declare the end from the beginning. Say to yourself, I am now what I desire to be, and feel it. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for circumstances to agree. Assume it now, in the face of contradiction, and walk as though it were so. For this is the law of reversibility. If you imagine something as real and persist in that state, it must become real in the outer world. And if the outer world shows you the opposite, rejoice, for it only means the old state is dying. Let it die. Do not resurrect it with your attention. I have seen men rise from the ashes of despair into the glory of fulfilled dreams, simply because they dared to hold the vision when everything screamed impossible. I have seen women step out of sorrow and into radiant joy, because they refused to let the senses dictate their reality. They became faithful to their inner world, and the outer world rearranged itself like clay before the potter's hands. That same power is within you now. Do not say, one day I will be free. Say, I am free now. Do not say, someday I shall be provided for. Say, I am provided for now. This present tense is the secret. Consciousness is the only reality, and consciousness is always now. Whatever you are aware of being now, you will experience as fact. And you may ask, but Neville, how can I feel it real when the world contradicts me? How can I stand in victory when the evidence of defeat is all around me? I say to you, the evidence is a shadow. It has no life except the life you give it. Withdraw your attention from the shadow and it will fade. Turn your attention to the inner picture, the imagined state, and give it life with your feeling. You must learn the art of inner loyalty. Be loyal to your unseen state and disloyal to your doubts. Be faithful to your desire and unfaithful to your fear. Let the inner world be more real to you than the outer, and soon the outer must conform. There is a power in you that the world knows nothing of. It does not shout, it does not argue, it does not strive. It simply assumes and allows. This is why I call it the silent revolution. It is the revolution of being, not doing. You become in consciousness what you desire, and the outer world bends. When you stop reacting to appearances and begin creating from within, you have left the old world and entered the kingdom. This kingdom is not a place you travel to, it is a state you awaken to, and the door to it is your imagination. Consider this. Every outer fact began as an inner assumption. The clothes you wear, the chair you sit upon, the lights that shine upon this stage, They all existed first in the imagination of someone who dared to believe in what was unseen. And because they believed, they persisted. And because they persisted, it appeared. That same law works in you. The only difference between the man who lives in despair and the man who walks in victory is this. One trusts appearances, the other trusts imagination. One looks outward for proof, the other inward for cause. Choose this day whom you will serve. If you serve appearances, you will be their slave. If you serve imagination, appearances will serve you. Do you see now why I call it a revolution? It overthrows the tyranny of the senses. It dethrones fear. It casts down every argument that exalts itself against the knowledge of who you really are. The world may call it foolishness. Let them. The wisdom of God is foolishness to the world, yet it is the power of salvation to those who believe. Salvation from what? From despair, from lack, from fear, from the bondage of appearance. The moment you say I am, and attach to it the state desired, you set in motion the entire machinery of creation. It may be invisible at first, but it is real, and it will appear. It must. Therefore I charge you tonight, guard your inner speech. Watch what you say to yourself in the silent moments, for that is the seed of tomorrow's world. Do not curse yourself in your own thoughts. Do not rehearse failure in your imagination. Refuse it. Say I am successful. Say I am loved. Say I am whole. Say it until it feels natural, until it needs no effort. When it becomes natural to you inwardly, it will become natural outwardly. That is the law. The world is only your reflected self. Change your self-concept, and you change your world. You are the operant power. No one can imagine for you. No one can assume for you. It is your responsibility and your glory. Do not give it away to circumstances, to people, to time. All these are shadows of your own consciousness. Rise in consciousness now. See yourself as you desire to be. Walk in that vision, as though it were done, and the world will bow. This is the silent revolution. And when it happens in you, the world may not understand it, but it will witness its effects. They will call you lucky. They will call you favored. They will call you blessed. But you will know that you simply dared to believe. So in this moment choose to abandon despair. Choose to enthrone imagination. Choose to speak only from the end fulfilled. And as you do, the old world will dissolve like mist before the sun, and the new world will rise from within you radiant and inevitable. This is the promise. This is the way. This is the revolution that saves. 9. The sacred art of living from the end. My friends, if there is one secret I would carve upon your hearts, one truth I would shout from the rooftops until it echoes in every chamber of your soul, it is this: live from the end. Not toward it, not hoping for it, not waiting on it. Live from it. That is the difference between struggle and ease, between delay and manifestation, between despair and fulfillment. Living from the end is the act of assuming now what you desire to be, and dwelling in that state until it feels natural, inevitable, unquestioned. Understand this well. Creation is finished. All that you could ever desire already exists as states of consciousness. You are not creating something new. You are selecting from what already is. The infinite states are present like rooms in a great house. You do not build the room, you simply walk into it and take occupancy. The world will then rearrange itself to reflect your new address in consciousness. But you must first enter it in imagination. You must go to the end and dwell there. For the end contains the mean. If you linger at the doorway of doubt, the door will not open. It opens only to the one who steps in boldly and claims it as home. When I say live from the end, I mean this. Feel now what you would feel if your desire were already fulfilled. Let that feeling be your dwelling place. Carry it with you as you walk, as you speak, as you lie down to sleep. Do not concern yourself with how it will come to pass. That is not your work. Your work is to inhabit the state. The how is the province of the unseen intelligence that moves all things. The bridge of incidents will appear, and you will walk it naturally, as though guided by an invisible hand. But that bridge will never appear while you stand outside the state, asking, how will it happen? You must first be. Suppose you desire to be free of some condition that has long bound you. Poverty, loneliness, ill health. To live from the end, you must first abandon the identity of the bound one. As long as you see yourself as the struggling, the seeking, the lacking, you remain in the state of lack. No amount of outer effort can free you while you are inwardly bound. Freedom is a state of being, and it must be assumed before it can be experienced. Say to yourself quietly with feeling, I am free, not I will be, Not I hope to be, but I am. And rest in that. Let it saturate you. Let it become more real than the world of facts. Then and only then will the facts begin to shift. You see, facts are shadows. They follow consciousness. They do not lead it. If you try to change facts without first changing your state, you are like a man rearranging the scenery of a play while remaining the same actor in the same role. The play will return to its original form, for you have not changed the part you are playing. But the moment you assume a new part, truly assume it, the scenery must alter. This is the law of the identical harvest. You reap what you are. You cannot reap what you are not. If you are inwardly the fulfilled one, you must reap fulfillment. If you are inwardly the rejected one, you must reap rejection. It is not a matter of effort. It is a matter of being. And some of you may say, but Neville, I have imagined and nothing has happened. I have affirmed and visualized, yet the world remains the same. And I would answer, you have not yet lived from the end. You have dabbled in the state as a visitor, but you have not taken up residence. To live from the end is not a moment's act. It is a continual dwelling. It is to walk through the world as the one who already has. It is to let your reactions, your speech, your decisions all flow from that fulfilled self. It is to forget the old self and its history as completely as if it never existed. If you return to the old state in thought or feeling, you resurrect it, so you must die to it. You must be willing to let it go as though it never was. Consider the seed. When it is planted, the seed must die to what it was. It cannot remain a seed and become a tree. The shell breaks, and what was hidden emerges. So too with you. If you would become the fulfilled being, the self of despair must die. It cannot come with you. You cannot be both the defeated and the victorious in the same breath. Choose, and having chosen, burn the bridges to the old self. Refuse to speak of it. Refuse to mourn it. Live as though the new state were always yours. And it will be. The outer world cannot resist the inner conviction. I tell you from experience, the moment you persist in a state until it feels natural, the world bows. There is no power in the outer world that can oppose a sustained inner assumption. The outer world is dead to its own causation. It lives only to mirror you. This is why living from the end is the highest art, the sacred art of all who awaken. It is the only way to bypass despair entirely. For despair lives only in the gap between what is desired and what is believed to be. Close that gap by believing now. Be it now, and despair vanishes like smoke. And you may ask, what if I falter? What if I slip back into fear? Then gently return. Do not condemn yourself. Do not make a drama of it. Simply return. Each return strengthens the new state. Each time you choose it again, you deepen the groove of belief. Soon it becomes effortless. It becomes natural. And what is natural must appear. That is the law. The state that feels natural will harden into fact. This is why your work is not to wrestle with circumstances, but to make the desired state natural to you. Walk in it inwardly until it requires no effort, until it is as familiar as your own name. Then the world will reflect it as surely as the mirror reflects your face. Let us be clear. Living from the end is not pretense. It is faith. Pretense tries to convince the senses. Faith ignores them. Pretense strains. Faith rests. Pretense hopes for proof. Faith knows the proof is inevitable. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The evidence appears because of faith, not before it. So stop waiting to feel secure before you assume the state. Assume it first, and the security will come. Stop waiting for signs. Be the sign. Stop waiting for permission. Give it to yourself. The world is waiting for you to move in imagination, for it can only follow. And when you live from the end, you live from love. For to live from the end is to trust the unseen, to rest in the embrace of your own divinity. It is to say, I and my desire are one. It is to know that nothing can separate you from what you are in consciousness. The outer world may delay, but it cannot deny. It is compelled to conform. This is why I tell you, dare to assume the best of yourself. Dare to walk as the one who has already received. Dare to look upon the world with the eyes of the fulfilled. This daring is the secret key. The timid hope. The bold assume. Be bold. So tonight, take your desire and carry it to its end. See yourself there. Feel the satisfaction, the relief, the joy. Let it soak into your bones. And as you rise from your chair, rise as that one. Speak as that one. Move as that one. Refuse every thought that contradicts it. And soon the world will echo back to you what you have dared to assume. This is the sacred art of living from the end. Practice it, and despair will have no home in you. Practice it, and you will prove the great secret. Imagining creates reality. And so I leave you with this charge. Live from the end. Let that be your dwelling place, your resting place, your home, for the end is not far off. It is here, it is now, it is you. 10. The victory of imagination. My friends, we have come now to the final key, the culmination of all that we have spoken of tonight. It is here that the whole teaching converges into one simple, undeniable truth. Your imagination is God within you, and to awaken it fully is to awaken victory. All that you have longed for, all that you have prayed for, all that you have struggled to achieve, lies not in distant circumstances, but within the theater of your own consciousness. The moment you understand this, despair cannot touch you, lack cannot bind you, and fear cannot enter your soul. You are free, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Now hear me carefully. Imagination is not idle fantasy. It is the living power, the substance of reality. It is what shapes every fact, every condition, every circumstance in your life. And it is by imagination that you must act in the midst of despair. For when the senses tell you, you cannot, when the outer world seems bleak, when your heart trembles with uncertainty, it is imagination that must rise and declare, it is done. Not I hope it will be done, not perhaps it may be, but it is done. That is the voice of faith. That is the call of God. That is the instrument by which the unseen becomes seen. Consider the nature of your own mind. Every state you have ever experienced was first imagined. The memory of joy, the recollection of sorrow, the sensation of fear, all of these exist first in the mind, and the mind is sovereign. Whatever you hold in imagination, you impress upon the world. Therefore, if despair has held you captive, it is because you have dwelled in its scenes too long. You have entertained the image of lack, and the world has mirrored it faithfully. But now tonight I call you to withdraw from that old picture. Close your eyes to what is not, and open them to what is already true in imagination. The key, my friends, is not effort but assumption. You do not struggle to bring the imagined into reality. You assume it. You live as though it is already done. You feel it in your body. You think it in your mind. You speak it in your inner conversation. The world has no choice but to follow. It is law. It cannot be broken. The unseen state once assumed must find its expression. The outer world is obedient to the inner state. The man who realizes this stands untouched in the midst of turmoil, untouched by despair, untouched by the chaos of appearances. He is sovereign. He is free. He is victorious. I want you to feel this truth with your whole being. You have been taught to look outward for salvation, to wait for circumstances to change, to depend upon the actions of others. But all these are shadows. The real power is within. The moment you claim your imagination as your own, the world bows. You may see delay. You may see resistance. You may see opposition. These are only shadows of the old state, fading before the light of your assumption. Do not fear them. Do not resist them. Simply persist in your vision of the end, and watch as the world reshapes itself around your steadfast inner state. Think for a moment of the power you have squandered in doubt, in fear, in despair. That power is not lost. It is latent, waiting to be awakened. And now, as we conclude tonight, I tell you, awaken it. Awaken it in the secret chambers of your own mind. Dare to see yourself victorious, whole, free, abundant, loved. See it as fully real, as if no other reality exists. Walk in that state inwardly until it permeates every thought, every breath, every heartbeat. And the outer world, faithful to its law, must respond. The shadow of lack and limitation cannot endure where the light of imagination shines. Let me give you a practical guide, though it is simple and direct. Close your eyes each day and enter the scene of your fulfilled desire. Let it be vivid. Let it be detailed. Let it be felt as fully as possible. Hear the sounds, feel the textures, taste the joy, smell the fragrance of completion. Make it real in your inner world, and then go about your day, carrying the essence of that reality with you. Speak from it, think from it, react from it, and do not question how or when it will appear. That is the domain of law. Your domain is fidelity to the assumed state. Persistence is the secret. One day, 1 hour, one fleeting moment of imagination is insufficient. The seed must be nurtured. It must be returned to again and again. Each return strengthens it. Each living of the end dissolves the old state. The longer you abide in your assumed victory, the more the outer world must conform. You may not see immediate change, but the currents are moving. The law is immutable. What is imagined and assumed as real will externalize. It is only a matter of time. And time itself is obedient to the law. Despair may whisper, it is impossible. Ignore it. Doubt may cry, it will never come. Smile. Fear may threaten, you are alone. Rejoice inwardly, for you are not alone. Your imagination is God within you, and God is never absent, never failing, never deceived. To know this is to rise above every outer limitation. To act from this is to claim victory before the world can resist. To live from this is to banish despair, once and for all. So I leave you tonight with this charge. Do not delay. Begin now. Enter your inner world and assume the end. Let it consume your attention, your thought, your feeling. Refuse to look back. Refuse to give power to the old state. Walk in imagination as the victorious, the whole, the fulfilled, the abundant. Persist in this daily, hourly, moment by moment, and know that the law is faithful. What you assume inwardly must appear outwardly. The unseen will become seen. The invisible will take form. And you, my friends, will know the sweet and eternal triumph of the imagination. Fully awakened. This is the 10th key, the final key, the victory of imagination. Dare to claim it, and despair will be no more. Fear will have no hold. Lack will dissolve. You will stand sovereign, free, and fulfilled. For in imagination all things exist. In imagination all things are yours. In imagination you are God. Take this truth and let it guide every step, every thought, every breath. Live it fully, and the world will obey. Victory is yours, not tomorrow, not someday, but now. It is done.